go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
That was that bad bump.
Are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone? Brought up.
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
President Trump plans a trip to Fort Knox that may be live streamed to the public. Mainstream media rages against DOGE's plan to provide dividend checks, or stimulus checks as some people are calling them, and a biased CNN host threatens a guest for speaking the truth. Oh yeah, and more federal workers are actually expected to be cut off as a part of the plan to clean out the government. Now, if you guys appreciate getting these daily news updates, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out a lot, guys. Really, I don't care about anything else. If you at least hit the like button, you've made my day. Seriously, I got all of these updates and a whole lot more. So let's quickly get started with Fort Knox, shall we? Now, you might already be aware that our country stores, I don't know, about half of our gold reserves in Fort Knox, which kind of makes this gold audit that much more important. Although I'm seeing a trend when it comes to what's being reported about this, with some within the media pushing back and saying that an audit is not necessarily. Really? An audit's not necessary? What are you trying to hide? Arguing that it's too much work to try and do all of this at all.
What is President Trump saying that he wants to find out here?
Well, it's been a conspiracy theory, if you want to call it that, for many years, really since the 1970s, that the US gold reserves, especially at Fort Knox, but as you say, it's about half of the total. America's official gold reserves are put at 8,133 tons, which is a lot. The biggest single gold hoard in the world. But the idea is that, you know, this stuff hasn't been inspected. It hasn't been counted for many, many years. 1974 was the last time that there was actually an official inspection as such. There have been audits since then, and a lot of people say we're going to audit the Fed, audit the gold. But audit isn't really what you want to do. Audit is where you just check paper records against paper records. What you really need to do if you want to know that it's there is you need to do a tally count. You need to go in and count the bars, and you need to inspect the bars and make sure that they're the right quality and, you know, they are the material that you want them to be.
And that would be an enormous undertaking?
It would be phenomenal.
So he's saying that we shouldn't even bother auditing our own gold because it's going to take a lot of time and effort. But as we've seen with this administration, rest isn't mandatory. And we also saw President Trump double down on his visit as he recently spoke at CPAC.
We're also going to Fort Knox. I'm going to go with Elon. And would anybody like to join us? Because we want to see if the gold is still there. We want to see. Wouldn't that be terrible? We open up this Fort Knox. It's just solid granite that's 5 feet thick. The front door, you need 6 musclemen to open it up. I don't even think they have windows. Wouldn't that be terrible if we opened it up and there was no gold there? So we're going to open those doors. We're going to take a look. And if there's 27 tons of gold, we'll be very happy. I don't know how the hell we're going to measure it, but that's okay. We want to see lots of nice, beautiful, shiny gold in Fort Knox. Don't be totally surprised. We open the door, we'll say, there's nothing here. They stole this too. No, we have a very corrupt group of people in this country.
Elon Musk has already said that it's possible that they do a live stream of the entering of Fort Knox, which would dispel any rumors critics have tried to spread. One of which is that they're going to try and steal our gold. These people just make up all sorts of stupid lies. Some of these lies don't even make sense. Now, I want to go ahead and pivot here, guys. I want to talk to you guys about DOGE for a second. Democrats, along with many within mainstream media, are skeptical about what DOGE has actually been doing. And CNN's doing the brunt of the work when it comes to trying to discredit DOGE. So here's Michael Smerconish of CNN talking about the possible dividend stimulus checks that taxpayers could receive. Now, these checks could be worth around $5,000 each.
And now there's a new potential layer to these DOGE savings that's gaining steam across social media to give us some of that money back. It's called the DOGE Dividend, and it was explained in a 4-page plan that was introduced this week on X, breaking down how every taxpayer would get a $5,000 tax refund check funded exclusively with a portion of the total savings delivered by DOGE, so long as Musk's goal of $2 trillion in federal savings is met. The tweet was from an investor and CEO, James Fishback, who's been a guest at Mar-a-Lago and has ties to both Trump and former DOGE official Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, the idea grabbed Elon Musk's attention, who replied he'd checked with the president. It appears that he did, because one day later, President Trump expressed interest in this proposal.
Now, Smerconish, he did hold an interview with James Fishback. Now, I don't want to bore you with the other details, but he's basically questioning these dividend stimulus checks from DOGE. And much like other Democrats, their stand is that the American people, they don't really need this money. American people are already good. They're balling. They don't need $5,000 checks. Do you agree with this guy? Like, what's this guy on? Smerconish, he went one step further and he argued that this is similar to a Ponzi scheme. But he said this after getting smacked with the truth that we've provided billions of dollars to foreign nations and illegal immigrants. And when it's time to give money back to the American people, CNN suddenly says that the government has no money.
My response is this: we should be paying the debt, which is why the DOGE dividend incentivizes every American to call out waste, fraud, and abuse, to lower the budget, to narrow the deficit, and to bring down the debt. Where was this emergency over the debt when we sent $350 billion to Ukraine to be wasted? Where was this emergency, Michael, on CNN when you guys were advocating $7,000 to migrants in Chicago? $7,000 a month per migrant, and now we want to spend $5,000 one time from President Trump to hardworking Americans. The migrants didn't deserve $7,000 a month. Hardworking Americans deserve a $5,000 check with President Trump's name on it. So enough with the double standard. Ukraine did not deserve $350 billion.
Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. This is Madoff-like. This is a Ponzi scheme.
No, Ukraine was a Ponzi scheme. The migrant funding was a Ponzi scheme. Hardworking Americans deserve a break.
James,
it was their money, Michael. It was their money.
James, give me a chance to speak. Theoretically, it's my program. We don't have the money, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the money for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine. $350 billion.
I never do this. I don't want to be that guy. Do I have to silence your microphone so that I can respond to what you've said? Because there's so much fallacy in what you've just offered.
Now, I don't know if you guys are as pissed off as I am, but CNN is supposed to be a news outlet, aren't they? But instead of letting guests speak, this guy literally threatened his guest that he would mute his mic. Now, I want you to remember that there was no outrage from CNN when the Biden-Harris administration poured money into Ukraine. There was no defiance from CNN when illegal immigrants got benefits that our veterans couldn't get. But the second that the Trump administration talks about giving me and you a $5,000 DOGE dividend stimulus check, then all of a sudden it's impossible. And just to make the point and the bias crystal clear here, guys, here's Van Jones getting absolutely destroyed by Scott Jennings for the double standard that they have on CNN. Watch.
But if we had a president a Democratic president who ran over these norms, you would be upset.
Dan, you keep saying that we'd be upset if a Democratic president violated norms. Brother, last year, Joe Biden was asleep and Kamala Harris was at a dance party with Beyonce all year. You violated norms for the entire year. And it's one of the reasons that Donald Trump won the election. Norms were violated for 4 straight years. And yes, I didn't like it. But Donald Trump, in my opinion, is not exceeding his authority under the Constitution with this vote.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. They never learn. And the fact is that these hosts who call themselves journalists are biased, and they can only call the game one way, for the left. Now, they were talking about people getting fired from the federal government. It was a huge concern for voters last year, and the Trump administration is simply doing what the majority of the country wants, which is why I think Van Jones will have a total meltdown once he hears what the president said at CPAC regarding federal workers. Watch.
We're removing all of the unnecessary, incompetent, and corrupt bureaucrats from the federal workforce. That's what we're doing. And under the buyouts, we offered federal employees more than 75,000 federal bureaucrats. Think of that. Have voluntarily agreed to surrender their taxpayer-funded jobs. We want to make government smaller, more efficient. We want to keep the best people, and we're not going to keep the worst people. And you know, we're doing another thing. If they don't report for work, we're firing them. In other words, you have to go to office. Right? Right? Look at her. If you don't report to work, you know, that's another scam. You know, who the hell, if I'm staying home, I'm going to, let's see, my golf handicap would get down to very low number. You'd be shocked if I told you the real number. But I would be so good, I'd try and get on tour. I would be so good. I'd call up, I'd say, listen, I'm really working here. Where are my clubs? Where are my clubs?
Mainstream media has a messaging problem because instead of reporting what the president is doing, they're trying to discredit his every move. That doesn't sound like a very good plan. It's literally been backfiring since day one, since Inauguration Day. Now, the same could be said for Democrats who fight against providing Americans with money. The new face of the left, Representative Jasmine Crockett, was recently on the air to ask why anyone would need an extra $5,000. I guess we're just not all as rich as Jasmine Crockett, where why would you need an extra $5,000? I don't know where she's coming up with that from. But anyway, I covered this in a previous video that you guys absolutely have to check out after this one. As always, appreciate your time. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time.